Hello, my name is David Biggins and I'm a lecturer in project management at Bournemouth University. In this video we will explain some of the terms you will probably come across when you're working with projects or using project management software such as Microsoft Project. Project management is quite a broad area, so I've listed the top 15 terms that I believe you should know about. We'll start by defining a project. A project can be defined as a temporary endeavour that's created to deliver one or more outcomes or benefits. Examples of projects range from small undertakings, such as organising a party, to huge initiatives that produce phones, tablets, oil rigs and space shuttles. The benefit is the positive reason why the project is undertaken. The items that are generated by the project are called deliverables. A deliverable is anything that the project produces. There can be interim deliverables produced along the way and final deliverables produced when the project completes. It's important to identify the deliverables in your project so that you are clear what you intend to produce. A good way to identify your project deliverables is to use a work breakdown structure. To demonstrate this, let's return to the party project mentioned earlier. If we think of the party as the main deliverable, we can use the concept of a work breakdown to help us understand what components go into the party. This is the process of breaking down the project, or decomposition as it is also known. We could break down the party into the elements of venue, guests, entertainment, food and drink. For each of these elements, we then repeat the process and break down each one in turn. We continue this process until we reach the stage where we've identified all the elements of the project. If you search for work breakdown structures, you can see examples and look at the level of detail that they contain. At the lowest level of the work breakdown structure are activities or tasks. These are discrete pieces of work that can be undertaken by one or a small number of people. Typically, tasks range in time to complete them from a few hours to no more than 2 weeks. All projects will contain from tens to many thousands of activities. An activity from the party project would be, for example, to buy 6 cases of non-alcoholic beer. The next term we have is quality. In projects, quality is a measure of whether the interim and final deliverables match the expectations of the people who will use those deliverables. It is important to understand the quality requirements, as this ensures what you produce fits the user's needs. Back to the party example, the quality aspect of the non-alcoholic beer could consist of the size of the bottles, type of cap, manufacturer. When you are designing your project, always bear in mind the quality aspects. It's a good idea to consider these early in order to save you time later. We've mentioned users, but there are many people involved in projects. All the people involved in the project are referred to as the stakeholders. Stakeholders include the team delivering the project, those who fund it, those who will use the deliverables, and those affected by the project. It's a good idea to consider all the stakeholders of your project to ensure you've taken their needs into account. An example of a stakeholder for the party project, who may not be immediately obvious, are the neighbours who might be affected by the event. Sending the neighbours a note to advise them that the party is taking place may avert later problems. For the party, we talked about the main components being the venue, guests, entertainment, food and drink. The sum of all the parts of a project are called its scope. When you're working on a project, it is essential to ensure the stakeholders are aware of the scope of the project, as this avoids confusion later. It's also useful to define what is not in scope so that there are no wrong assumptions made. In our party project, we may say that transportation is outside the scope of the project and ask people to make their own arrangements, or we may include it in the scope and arrange for minibuses to take the guests to and from the party. One project management term you are sure to come across is change. In project management, change refers to any alteration to an agreed deliverable. A change in the party scenario might be that the intended venue is no longer available or the band has had to cancel. Whenever change occurs, it's a good idea to assess how the change impacts the project to help you to decide how best to react to the change and which stakeholders you need to involve. One way of assessing change is consider the triple constraints of time, cost and quality. Time refers to the number of days you have to complete the project. Cost refers to how much resource you have available, and quality refers to how the deliverables meet the stakeholders' needs, as we mentioned earlier. Time, cost and quality are often mentioned together because they form a relationship that can be visualized as a triangle, with each term representing one side of that triangle. The relationship means that if one of the three changes, the other two may also change. In our example, if the quality requirements change so that the venue has to be a 4-star hotel rather than a 2-star hotel, this will probably have cost implications, as the new venue will be more expensive. It may also have time implications if the new venue is not available on the required date. If we learn that the cost of the project has been reduced, we may find that we have to book a cheaper band, which may have quality implications if the new band is not as good. We mentioned resources just now. Resources refer to people, equipment, commodities, and also money that is involved in the project. When you're putting together the budget, the estimate for the cost of the project in terms of its resources will comprise the budget. As people work on the project and you buy supplies, book bands, etc., you'll incur actual cost. Actual cost are the real amounts of time expended or money spent. Comparing the actual cost against the budget is a good way for you to be able to assess how the project is progressing and to alert you to possible changes that are needed. While you're undertaking a project, lots of things will happen. These are called issues and risks. Those items that are happening now are called issues. It's good practice to write these down in a log so that you don't forget them and can discuss them with the team or other stakeholders if necessary. While issues are happening now, events that might happen in the future and which could have a negative or positive impact on the project are called risks, and these also need to be logged. It is important to consider risk throughout the project because of the effect risk can have on projects, sometimes positively, but most often negatively. When considering risks, it's a good idea to assess how likely the risk is to happen, and if it does, what the impact would be. This technique allows you to focus your attention on the most important risks in your project and to have a plan in case they occur. All projects have associated risks. We've already mentioned some risks to the party project that could have been foreseen at the outset, such as the venue needing to be changed or a different band needed. Thinking about these potential problems early allows us to mitigate them, and this is good practice in projects. Back in the 1910s, a man called Henry Gantt was struggling to communicate his project to his stakeholders. He wanted a way to combine the activities, time and duration into an easy-to-understand format. The chart he devised is still in use today and bears his name, the Gantt chart. You will most probably have seen a Gantt chart and will recognise that it has the time across the top, activities down the left, and horizontal bars representing activity duration in the body of the chart. Gantt charts are very helpful for communicating about the projects with stakeholders and are easily produced using software packages. For example, the Gantt chart view is the default view in Microsoft Project. The last of our 15 terms is related to the Gantt chart and is a milestone. As a project can contain many activities, a milestone is a significant point or event in the project. A small project may have 5 to 10 milestones, and they can be helpful because they focus people's attention on key dates in the project and can also be used to highlight the main points of the project to stakeholders. Milestones in the party could be the date on which the project starts, the date when the bookings need to be made, the date when the order for flowers has to be with the florist, the date of the party, and the end date of the project. So this has been a brief tour of 15 of the most common project management terms. I hope you found them useful. If you have any comments or suggestions for further videos, please leave a comment. I do wish you well with your projects.